Ready.
Ready?
Jet
Jet
set.
set.
Go.
Go, 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 go. No to the mall.
Loud one down the right side at the goal line, leaving a tap. Oh, it's free call. Oh, that's a jet
Never too
touchdown.
nose. Pack my bags and go, 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 go. Serve me a brick at the stove. Looking like a shack in the post. Go, 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 go. From the hills to the moon. Yeah, baby, yeah, we go like don't go. Yeah, in this world, everything's so more. Yeah, behind this wall, there is no photos. Jump on this bitch, oh go, yeah. I'll go right there, yeah. Go, go. Watch how you go, hey, yeah. Ocho, I need some more, hey, yeah. Pronto, jumped out the coupe with the black inside, you look like I'm racist. Smoking cookie in Atlanta everywhere, you would think I'm recreation. You already knew we made it, we ain't even gotta say shit. Some of the trap was lick, some of the trap was fake. Junior say I'll bring the pay out, bring the pay out. Nigga wanna talk, we bring the pay out, we spray now. They gon' walk right in that pocket.
Yo, what's up? What's up? It is your boy Brent, aka Take Fight today. And joining me each and every week, Alan, aka NY Jets Planet. And we are back for another week in the Jets early off season. You know, what would a Jets off season be without some fireworks and without some, things to talk about? This is our season. Like every year, forget the regular season apparently. The off season is where we make our moves and and shine. So I mean, you saw me holding up the card to start this episode. All right. Aaron Glenn, is becoming a hot commodity amongst Jets brass as of late. But joining him is about 50 other candidates as well. So it's it's been a crazy interview process for the Jets. Alan, how you feeling about this what we've come to know in the last week with all these interviews and guys being brought in?
Yeah, I find it so funny, just like the amount of people that were interviewing. At one point, I feel like Woody's just like, you know what? Let me start interviewing fans too, because you never know.
Right.
Like I feel like there's a point of like being thorough to where you can be. I don't want to say overly thorough, but it's just like I don't understand the point in interviewing someone that I don't think ever has a chance to really get the job. Really, like unless you're genuinely considering them, like what's the point in really doing that interview anyways? It all subjective. I still think that it's Glenn's job to lose. At this point, it seems like all the fans are on board. It seems like Glenn wants to be here. I don't exactly know what's going on in Woody or Chris's mind. I know honestly, what's crazy? Jaime, the president.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he was still there. He's still over there. I was actually surprised they didn't fire him. I don't know how he stayed in this org at this point.
Yeah, he must.
He's part of the interviews.
Yeah, he must have been playing Madden with Brick or something, or he must have bought Brick the new PS5 or something.
Yeah. He must have got it like early too.
Yeah.
He must have been in there in them stores.
Pre-order.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been very interesting seeing, how many different people we're hiring, in this process. And I know we just brought on the media consultant team, the 33rd team, spearheaded by Mike Tenenbaum and Mr. Spielman. His brother is actually one of the people that got a GM interview, but it has been a long and extensive process. And Jets fans are kind of confused as to why we're bringing so many faces, all right? Like so many names, so many faces, like you said, it's we're not sure if it's a due diligence thing, right? Or if we're just kicking the tires on anybody who's picked up a clipboard at this point, you know.
I actually have a theory on it though. Like
Yeah.
at least for the head coach, I can't speak for the GMs, but at least for the head coaches, I think there is some sort of thought. I'm hoping there's a thought around all of it. Like they just announced that they're interviewing, I believe his name is Joe Haley, the Packers defensive coordinator. And something I realized because I'm a trend dude, a trend that's happening is that a lot of the GMs that they're interviewing like, and it's mostly defensive guys at that same organization. So I'm wondering if it was like an interview question, like, what guy would you bring here or something like that? And you're like, all right, cool. Let's see why they chose this guy. That's great. That's a long shot, but I feel like there's some sort of thought process around that, just in the sense of it's like they'll bring in a guy like a GM, and then out of nowhere, it's like there's a defensive guy from that organization that they're interviewing like a couple days later.
Right. It's like they're trying to play matchmaker here, right? They're trying
maybe.
Trying to find the right match. Shout out Grace Monroe. Welcome to the show. Make sure you like and subscribe. She hears Mike McCarthy's available. We did this interview Sullivan from the Packers the other day. So this might be a ploy to keep Aaron here. Who knows? I heard Aaron Glenn was open to working with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron and Aaron. That could be that could be a thing. We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe I don't see it though. I don't see, like, at least from the reports that I've seen, it seems like Aaron is done. Like he is not coming back. Like we should just throw that out of possibilities. But there might be like some possibilities where he really likes a particular coach. But I don't really want to make a decision based off of Aaron, who at his very best, like if he comes back and destroys, he's got like a couple years in him.
Right.
Like if even that, honestly, most likely like a year or two, if that even.
Hey, look, I've been a big advocate on bringing him back. Bring him back. He can't go out like this. Again, I will say I will die on that hill that he's a few touchdowns away from Brett Favre. There's no way he retires being that close to Brett Favre on that all-time touchdown list. He's got next season has got to be an historic one for him. It's historic, or it's just a waste, So that's how I see it. But we'll see what happens. But Aaron Glenn is seeming like the guy, him or Brian Flores, a lot of a guy that we've been high on for a long time. I want to know what you guys think. Who you guys think should be the head coach of the Jets? Drop it in the comments. Aaron Glenn or Brian Flores. Alan, who do you think? I guess Woody should lean more towards in this uproar of news that is between Glenn and Flores at this point.
Yeah, like honestly, like so, and I was a guy that I was very, very big on Flores, but the more and more that's coming out, and the more that I'm doing like digging into him, like I'm starting to worry that he's an asshole. Like there's a part of me, like all right, I think we already knew he was an asshole. Like he comes from that Belichick tree. They all are. Him, Vrabel, like anyone that comes from that tree is automatically an asshole, because that's how Bill teaches them to be. Like Bill teaches all of his coaches is like, yo, just don't respect any of your players and just make sure they get the job done. That's how Bill is though, and that's how they all act. But it is a new league. I don't think that works anymore. That's exactly why Bill's not in the league anymore.
Yeah.
So I think you need a guy that's more personable, especially when we're talking about like Bill never had to deal with like New York media.
Right.
Like Bill, he left before he could ever really even deal with it. Like he was gone.
Yeah.
But
he dealt with it. He dealt with it, all right.
He dealt with it, but from afar. Like he never had to deal with it while being here. And it's like you don't have a choice but to go on that podium and just deal with it. So I always wondered like how would that have worked here versus versus New England. I do still like there's a part of me where it's just like I don't know how much it changed, but I do see that like not working out, because I can see that one question that goes out, and then like Flores answers it the wrong way, answering it like an asshole, and then bam, like now the whole team is against him because it's like, oh, you're going after one, or like this the whole Tua situation basically.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
imagine he said that in public, like to the media, it'd be a whole fiasco. So
Right.
yeah, I think that's what got me more. And plus, also Flores has yet to win a playoff game. And I don't like to like just keep. I don't want to bring the guy down. I'm observing. I'm observing.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's a fair, and that is a very fair observation because, you know, it's like fans are like, give me a head coach that's been a head coach before, right? But this head coach hasn't won a playoff game versus a defensive coordinator who has been on a winning, team that has been part of a culture change, right? Like
Yep.
it's kind of subjective as to what you want to bring in. I've seen a lot of fans that are like, all right, we're gonna sign another defensive coordinator. Like are we serious? But I mean, Aaron Glenn has been a part of a huge culture change. And with Flores, I've heard that he's an asshole too. I've heard that he can rub some players the wrong way. And it's for this team right now, being like that or just being kind of like straightforward, I don't think it's a bad thing, but
yeah, that's the hard part. Like,
yeah. Like, I don't think that, but I'm not sure if like our players will respond well to it, especially when we have players that are on the cusp of being in or out. Like they're like 1 foot in, 1
not
foot
even
out.
that, but low key, we do have some soft players. Like
Yeah.
Like no disrespect. Like I don't want to call them like soft, like they're soft, but it's like Sauce has one of those personalities where I can see his feelings getting hurt very quickly. Like very, very quickly. Like one bad word, and I could generally see him being like on Twitter, like, can't do this anymore.
All right, I'm out.
We already know Garrett is already on that whole, if I don't get the ball and we're not winning, I'm done. So
he's on the cusp. So yeah, man. But you bringing up Sauce is a good point, and that makes me want to transition over to Aaron Glenn, because you had even mentioned before the show that Aaron Glenn being a former Jets DB, him and Sauce being linked together on the Jets could make for some very good growth, very good culture change. And I feel like they would, and I agree with you where you said that I think that they would have a great relationship, coming in.
Definitely.
Quinnen is already a big advocate of Aaron Glenn.
Yep.
So I mean, players like what they see from Aaron Glenn. So, and it helps that he's, he bleeds green. Like we literally drafted him. And I was talking to my dad the other day. He was like, man, we're out on Rex, but if we get Aaron Glenn, that's the guy. That's just as good.
Yeah. So, yeah. And imagine all the Jets alumni that would come back to support just because Glenn is coming to coach. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, Victor Green, all them guys.
Yep.
All them guys. So yeah, I think it'll be dope. But we do have a video, a live look on what these Jets interviews are actually looking like in the building. So I'll play them for you guys really quick. It was, this just some insider information that I saw. So here's what it looks like in the One Jets Drive.
All right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3. Ever.
38 candidates combined have been interviewed for the head coach and GM position. There's only 2 spots. It's only 2 spots. How many more people are we going to interview here? It's getting a little out of hand. So,
How do you
It's
feel about the GM candidates?
so honestly, I like the GM candidates. I like Borganzi. I like the big names that we've brought in. Borganzi, Spielman. Riddick is a not a, I guess, popular name, but a very talked about name. Uh um I love Riddick. I just love the way he knows sports. He's a football mind guy. Uh but your Berganzis, your
Yeah,
Spielmans, those are the
I don't.
guys that I'm like, okay, those guys deserve an interview. But we're interviewing some other GM candidates that I haven't really heard about, and two, they haven't really been like, I guess, a GM before. So yeah, how do you feel about it?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say that I think it's Lance Newmark from the Commanders. I'm hearing.
Mm,
Well,
yeah,
I think it was
yeah, I
Albert
saw that.
Breer. That
Uh-huh.
yeah, that posted that he's linked with Aaron Glenn potentially because they work
Yeah,
together in Detroit. Um, he actually came from Detroit, went to the Commanders last year. Granted, I like the only thing that I worry about with any guy coming from an organization that's just doing well is just like how much did they really help? Like the
yeah,
Commanders, like yeah, as an assistant, it doesn't matter what position you were, unless you were a part, like a vital part of pushing for Jaden, which it was to me, it was a no brainer decision. It wasn't like
yeah,
you were considering Jaden Daniels or somebody else at two. Like Jaden Daniels was the obvious choice at two, in my opinion. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I don't know. I generally do worry like are people as valuable to that organization as they come across as. Like even Borgonzi, it's like the
yeah,
Chiefs are mostly Mahomes, Reed, and then recently they did draft some good defensive players. So I'm like, I don't know who gets the most credit for those defensive players, but it's like also I don't know. I guess those are the things where it's just like I don't know how much credit each person gets for a particular player, like who's pushing for who. Because
right.
also the Chiefs have a really good old line that they drafted Creed Humphrey, which
Yeah.
again kind of a no brainer pick, but like Trey Smith, that was a really good one.
Hmm.
Um,
So
yeah,
as far as GMs go, what should we be looking for in a GM's resume? Do you feel like in this process? Because it's tough, I mean, with us, we're like literally hiring or not hiring, interviewing every type of GM, whether it's assistant GM or just somebody who's been in the GM role years ago or whatever. Like, what do you feel like is your top thing, on a resume that we should be looking for?
for me personally, especially
Yeah.
given the state of the team,
Uh,
um, it's working with organizations that have grown over time, like
yeah.
an organization like the Lions. Like I think that's probably the first thing that I'm personally looking at. Like
Yep.
an organization like the Chiefs, that which I'm not saying they were always good, but for like the past, give it like half a decade at least, like over half a decade now, they've been just outstanding at this point. Where it's like it's
Yeah.
almost like they're on autopilot.
Right.
And it's not to say that that person's not good, but like you obviously want somebody coming from a good situation in general. But
Yeah.
I do give a little brownie points to those that like organizations that were bad and then became good because they've seen that transformation.
Hmm.
Um, and we need that type of transformation here.
Uh,
Definitely.
yeah. No.
On top of that, oh sorry, just two other
Yeah.
points. I really like someone with a scouting background in general. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
the
Okay.
draft is what really builds a team. I don't
Hmm.
like we never really hear of a lot of like successful free agent stories. So if you can't
Yeah.
draft, a lot of times you're already behind the eight ball. And
Yeah.
then I guess the last one is just if they've somehow shown some sort of expertise in money management.
Money
Um,
management.
I don't exactly know how you test that part. I mean, that comes down to interviews. I don't know, but like for me, I'll just look at like where did they come from, what was their background, were they scouting, were they just like
Yeah.
where did they what part did they come? Because if someone was just in finance, we get another Idzik, like they could be great with money, but don't know how to spend it.
Right. And to that point, that's one of the reasons I love Joe Douglas because he knew how to allocate money wisely. Right. He was
Mm-hmm.
never like he had a bar and he never went over it for anybody. Right. So
Yeah.
I really like that aspect of GMs. The main thing I feel like we should be looking for in our next GM is uh like you said, somebody who's been a part of a culture change, right? I don't want to like. That's what worries me about Borganzi. I feel like I'm not sure when he came on with the Chiefs, but the Chiefs
He
was
was there
kind of
for a while though.
right a while.
I don't know
So
what year though.
yeah, and I'm not sure if it was pre Patrick Mahomes or post Patrick Mahomes, but uh, I want somebody who was with an organization that was in the dumps and brought them out of the dumps because we're literally in the dumps right now. We can't seem to get out of this circle of insanity as far as just getting in our own way. So, uh, yeah, a GM that just knows how to turn the organization around when it comes to free agency. Uh, the draft is, to me, the draft is hit or miss.
It
Now,
always is.
yeah, now, if you're missing every year, like that's a problem. But you know, GMs that win and they're picking like between 25 and 32 in the first round, it seems like those guys are like always you know very good players or good players are being added to those late rounded draft teams. So yeah, so somebody who can recognize talent, um and I don't I want somebody who's not afraid to make a big move,
Yep.
uh, so because I mean, honestly, we don't need to make too many big moves to be honest, because we have our core. And I think you mentioned that a few episodes ago that like a good GM that we bring in shouldn't have to make too many moves on this team.
I mean, we
You
have
know,
one big one though.
well, yeah,
Quarterback.
uh, quarterback, yeah,
So
and that's where Aaron can serve the role of just kind of a placeholder for that first year for whoever comes in. That's why That's
assuming he's
why,
up for it.
yeah. Somebody's gonna be up for it, and I hope that we're asking these questions in the interview process because, uh, you know, wanting to bring back Aaron Rodgers gives that head coach and GM pairing a year to evaluate everything again, while also just having a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, who's gonna complain about having a Hall of Fame quarterback on your
Yep.
roster? And he didn't do that bad. Like he was still a top 10 quarterback this past season. So it's like, okay, I'll take my chances with the top 10 with somebody who's past his prime but is still putting up top 10 numbers. That's cool with me. We can figure out the rest, or this will give us time to figure out the quarterback situation for the future. So yeah, I want to.
You
I
know what it
want
is though? I don't like there was a certain scenario where I liked Rodgers. I don't think I like Rodgers with Glenn, honestly. I don't think that
to.
matches up well. I think Glenn needs to not to assert his dominance in the beginning, but at least like set the tempo in the beginning of like this is the type, this is where I need everyone to be personality, like not personality wise, but
Yeah.
like this is the level I need everyone to be at. Like no one's above the organization at this point. Like if anyone's above the organization, it's me. I think that's kind of where you have to be as a coach. Like you have to fill both sides. Like it doesn't have to be necessarily like a dictatorship, but you have to be very in the middle. Like you got to be very likable, but also know like it's almost like being a parent. Like knowing when to be strict, knowing when to be likable, and finding that nice blend. I just
Yeah.
find that hard with a guy like Aaron, who's a little older and like he wants things done his way. And maybe Aaron's like, "Hey, look, I'll take a step back and let you run the show." But I think that's something um, that whoever comes in at coach GM, they're definitely gonna have to figure out once they get there.
Yeah, and that's gonna be. I feel like that's gonna be like the key to what we need going forward.
Yep.
Um, yeah. It's just a lot of a lot of I guess opinions being thrown out there as far as just who we should hire and stuff like that. But like I'm looking at all these guys we're bringing in for interviews. I'm just like, as soon as I see what team they come from,
Yep.
I look at the team and I'm like, okay, where's that team? How's that team progressed in the last 5 years? Like, have they always been have they been good the last 5 years and the GM doesn't really have to do anything? Or was this GM a part of a culture change, right? That's what I look for in a GM. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a very I mean, I guess it's gonna be an extensive process, but that needs to be, figured out soon. Do you think that? I mean, I know you're a big advocate of GM before head coach, but uh, how do you feel that I guess that process should go? Going forward, should we get the
Yeah.
GM first, head
Well,
coach
regardless,
at the same time?
so I think what works well is that if I'm not mistaken, the Jets can't interview Glenn again like a second round until he loses.
Right.
So I mean, unless like worst case scenario where he loses this week, I kind of expect him to at least get to the conference championship.
Right.
So honestly, in an ideal world, you have your GM already. If you are leaning towards Glenn, you probably would want to get a GM that's also leaning towards that direction as well. Like I think first step is like owner and GM definitely have to be aligned because
Yeah.
I think it works when everyone's on the same page. If your GM has one ideation like of what they want to do, how they want the team to run versus your coach, it's going to be very hectic. And I think we've seen that with previous Jets teams before Joe Douglas and Saleh. Like it wasn't perfect, but they at least worked together. That's how you get some of those like late round hits or just random finds in general. You saw that a lot on the defense side. On a defensive side, we just didn't have that face on the offense. So I think it starts, in my opinion, GM, coach, and then together, I think they need to go out and figure out like how do we get this offensive coordinator in here that is actually going to do well.
Right. And it's been it's been like two different crowds in the Jet fan market, right? It's been like, give me an offensive minded coach, right? I don't want a defensive minded. It's either give me a defensive minded coach, an offensive minded coach, or a leader / culture changer guy, right?
Yep.
I'm in the leader culture changer guy with I'm in that crowd. I don't care if he's offense or defense. I need a leader, as a head coach, somebody who looks confident or is going to be confident in that role, no matter if they're offensively driven or defensively driven, right? If we're bringing in a guy and he's a defensive, guy and he's our head coach, then guess what? We have to get the offensive coordinator right, which we haven't done the past few times that we've had a defensive coach, right? So that's going to be our thing, and it really just depends on I mean, our top two candidates right now are defensive coaches, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, seeing what our defense just did after week 6, I wouldn't mind having a defensive coach, right? Because that's always been our bread and butter. But and our offense kind of follows suit. And with Aaron Rodgers, it's like, I'm way more comfortable with our offense, with a veteran quarterback at the helm,
I
but
get that.
but the defense has to be our staple, I think we gave up like 6 fourth quarter leads.
Yeah.
That's not on the offense.
Yeah.
That's the defense. So, I mean, but the pairing has to be right, whether, a lot of people are saying Josh McCown
with Flores,
with Flores, or it's a lot of OC candidates getting these head coaching interviews. All of those guys are not going to be head coaches, right? Like some of these guys are gonna be the odd man out on these head coaching positions, and there's gonna be a pool of offensive coordinators out there just looking for a new job, and that's where I think we kind of, picking that bucket for sure. So
yeah, and I also think that you interview potential offense, like if you're gonna most likely be leaning towards a defensive coach, you interview those potential offensive coordinators ahead of time so that once they kind of name drop somebody, like if Flores is like, oh, I'm bringing in McCown, you already interviewed McCown, so you kind of know what that systematically looks like. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it?
Exactly.
I'm curious who I'm really curious who Glenn's guy was.
That was like the question mark, and that's why I think people were kind of iffy on Glenn because they don't really know his connections. But I think I saw something today And if anybody knows, who Aaron Glenn is connected to, you definitely drop it in the comments for sure. But yeah, no, the guy that Aaron Glenn brings on has to be, you know, uh, a guy that can run offense, somebody that Aaron Glenn trusts, because I'm sure Aaron Glenn isn't going to be calling any offensive plays, right? And the top, the top teams in the league, I feel like are defensive coaches, but they have other guys calling off their offensive plays. So that's gonna be a big thing. As far as like if we bring on Aaron Glenn, are we gonna hire somebody that we already interviewed? You know, for the head coach position as an OC. Uh, so yeah, I mean, yeah, that is something that we have to check on though, like who Aaron Glenn is kind of linked with in this whole process, right?
Yeah, I would look at so I'd probably look at like guys on either the line staff, possibly, and honestly maybe the Broncos staff because he does have Saints roots.
Yeah. Okay.
So I know he was on Peyton's staff, so he might know somebody on that Broncos staff currently.
Wouldn't it be interesting
I'd be curious.
if we brought McCarthy as an OC?
He would never do that.
You don't think so?
You could just take that idea and throw that shit right up. Well,
you don't think so?
Wait. This is the reason why. This is the reason why.
Play with Rodgers or be with Rodgers again?
This is the reason
for
why.
a year. I'll be OC until Rodgers retired, then I'm out.
No, I can almost. I don't know McCarthy, but I just have to assume, right? It was 2019, right? McCarthy put all his chips on the table and said, "I'm either going to take this Jets job or I'm not going to have a job." And you know who they just hired? They hired Adam Gase. I don't think there's any shot in hell he even considers coming here. We really burned a lot of bridges. I'm almost sure that's the same reason why we can't get Monken. We know that's the same reason we can't get Ben Johnson because Ben Johnson's close with Gase. Hiring Gase really kind of domino affect a lot of things.
Well, I mean, who's to say McCarthy, didn't look at Dallas and be like, yeah, that's a better situation. That's a better team.
No, because he didn't take a job that cycle. Remember, he waited a year. He didn't take any job that cycle.
Yeah, he did. He waited.
He waited a whole year and then took the Dallas job after. So I'm sure, it worked out for him.
Yeah.
But he would have had Sam instead. I don't know. You never know what that would have been. But I just don't think. I think most likely he'll get another head coaching job, and then he'll try to get Aaron to come with him. Assuming it's not like the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, he did get interviewed by the Bears today, so.
But I know the Saints really like him. That's what I'm thinking.
And I hope he goes there because that Aaron Glenn that's like a clear path to the Jets, if so.
Yeah, that's why they were saying once McCarthy became open, that was the Saints' preferred guy, and that would pretty much open Glenn to just the Jets, pretty much. So I'd be curious to see how that all those dominoes kind of play out.
Yeah.
Especially I wonder do the Saints trade for Rodgers, or is it all based on the fact that we possibly just drop Rodgers and Devontae?
I don't even think. I think we're waiting to hire the GM head coach.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then they're gonna. I think that's gonna be a decision that they're gonna want to make. And I don't know where I saw this, but I swear I saw something that said Aaron Glenn wouldn't be opposed to playing with Rodgers for, next year. Not forever, but
I don't think it's a matter of the Jets or Glenn or any of those guys. I think Aaron's done. I think Aaron's done here. From what I heard, I'm pretty sure that Aaron is just done with the Jets. I don't know that for sure. I can't especially Aaron does a lot of media tactics to hide what his real intentions and thoughts are.
Yeah.
I don't really think he's as bad of a guy as everyone thinks he is, but I do think he does a lot of games with the media in general because I think he just hates media in general. But I do think he's done in New York. I think he's over it. But it's one of those things until you see who the head coach and GM is, it's hard to ever really, really know. But we'll just take him and get there. We also have to just see, like, does he even want to play? That's the first question. Is he even going to play next year?
Yeah.
Or does he go back into the darkness and try to find out and do all that shit?
And see, that's where the tide is going to turn, right? Because if he does want to play next year, I think it will be here. If he retires, or if he doesn't want to play here, I think he retires. And so that's the conundrum. That's the waiting game that we are currently stuck in right now, like a vortex, you know. So, yeah, no, yeah. My, my boy says if he's done, that could be what's best.
Yeah, I like,
Yeah.
and I get your point, because it's just like if you take Rodgers out the picture, right, and you look
Yeah.
at who the options are, it does look very scary.
It looks.
Like,
It's
you're
like,
looking at,
whoa.
oh my gosh, like you're looking at Sam Darnold, who I'm almost sure, like, well, this is a personal thing. I don't have any sources on this, but I'm almost sure that if Ben Johnson takes that Raiders job, which I heard is a potential, but if he takes that Raiders job, he's going to try to go and get Sam. That's my thought. I don't know for sure, but I think that
That would be
just
interesting.
sounds like it sounds like a solid matchup there.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Fields is always a possibility just because you have Garrett, the Garrett, Justin,
Connection. Yeah.
Justin Fields connection. I don't exactly know how strong that connection really is. Like, are they actually close, or is it more of like we just played in college? So I'd be curious to see how that goes. And then there's the draft, but you're not getting one in the first round. So it's like, are you going to go really take a chance on like a mid? Granted, I do have, and I'm not going to talk about it today, but I do have a mid-round quarterback that I do like. But I don't know if you take the chance on just a mid-round quarterback, kind of over exceeding expectations for that year.
I'm telling you, and it's like,
it is a weird,
and it's like we do have Jordan Travis in the stable, right?
Yeah.
We don't know how he's going to play, and I hope that at this point in this entire process, he's like the forgotten pony in the stable, and then we open that barn up and he goes crazy and he runs wild, and it's like a storybook that we never even thought that a fairy tale that we never thought that would start or open up for us at some point. But the verdict is still out on him. Injury prone. He had a setback this last year, so it's like, okay, I'm not gonna put all my eggs in that basket right now. And me, I'm a big Archie guy. I'm a big Arch Manning advocate.
Oh gosh.
I'm a big Arch Manning advocate, and he might be in Texas for 2 more years. Let's just say 2 more years. Let's just say 2 more. Let's just say next year he plays, he does well. And then the year after that, he plays, does well, declares, right? We might be towards the top by then. Aaron might be good. Let's just say we keep Aaron for 1 more year. Aaron might be good next year. Then the year after Aaron retires, we are back to where we started, and now we are about to draft Arch Manning. We're in a position to draft Arch Manning. We're not a good team because we just saw how it was with Aaron. The year after Aaron, we don't really do anything. We might put Jordan Travis in. He doesn't really get us to where where we want to be. And draft Arch. You can see, and
I will say I do think in general, and like now that I've seen both sides of it, I'd rather take the chance on like a bunch of young guys than because what it is. The only thing I don't like about Rodgers is that like that like when you're playing Call of Duty and those guys just don't die. It's like no matter how many times you shoot them, they just don't die. That's Rodgers out there sometimes. Like no matter how many times he get injured, no matter how bad he's playing, he's still out there. And it's like, oh gosh, like sometimes I'm like it's unbearable, especially when you're consistently losing. It's like this is unbearable. It's like you want to change something, but it's like his pride would never allow us to just go put somebody like. There's a point in the season where it was like I do think that like just throw someone else out there. I don't know about Tyrod Taylor, but throw Adrian Martinez out there.
Yeah.
F it. Like, just see what you got in him at this point because you got nothing to lose at this point. Like, you lost. Like, honestly, at this point, like, if we would have lost those the last two games we won, right?
Uh-huh.
That Jaguars game and the Dolphins game. If I'm not mistaken, we would have been the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like you look at it, and it's like, shit, yo, we could have been picking. We're trying to. I would hope it's not Shador, but we could have been. We could have been getting a quarterback if we wanted to, or trading back.
Shador would have been good here, but
No,
that's for another day. I ain't gonna. I ain't gonna
we don't got to go into it, but no.
it's a pipe dream.
I would have taken the ransom just to go from 2 to 3 with the Giants easily.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Especially how desperate they would be. Like I'm almost sure. Like honestly, I don't know why you would ever keep a GM and coach knowing that they're in like boiling hot water. Like you don't never want. Like I don't know. Like in my opinion, especially like you need a like they don't have a quarterback. Like that leads to a very desperate move. And I don't know what the move is gonna be for their quarter. Like I don't know what they're gonna do for quarterback. But like I'm interested to see how
the Giants.
goes.
The Giants.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know.
Who the heck do they?
Here's what I
They need to go get Kirk Cousins.
Whew. Ooh.
That's what they're gonna do.
That's actually pretty interesting.
They're gonna find a bridge. That's what they need to do.
I wouldn't go down. I couldn't go down like that.
Especially with the GM and coach coming back. It's like, okay.
You're most likely right because they need to just like prove that like, hey, we know football. So you're most likely right. I just couldn't go down like that.
Yeah, I mean, I
couldn't do it.
The Giants kind of messed themselves up by winning towards the end of the season and messing up their whole draft pick. So
if I were the Giants, I would call the Patriots and say, what is it going to take for Joe Milton? That's what I would do.
I mean,
I'm gonna go down swinging at least.
Yeah, at least swing on one of these young quarterbacks. But
you never know. Like you might strike on gold, and then you get the extension of a lifetime.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I agree with you. I mean, but yeah, not Tony. Aaron Rodgers is literally Tony Stark. He's Iron Man. He's gonna give his all till he can't no more, and even if he's hurt, his pride isn't gonna let him get out the field. So yeah, I mean, look, the Jets, this whole GM head coach debacle, the entire process right now is still ongoing, and we can talk about that for, I guess, ages. But that's just where we're at right now in the process. Hopefully next week we actually have a new head coach and GM. Cough, cough.
Well, hopefully we don't have our head coach yet.
Yeah, well, hopefully both of them are hired by next week.
Well, no, I'm saying hopefully the head coach isn't.
Oh yeah. Hopefully
Hopefully our head coach is still in the playoffs.
Yes. That's another thing. I really want. I want to see, all of these Aaron Glenn haters be shut up when they watch Aaron Glenn perform in the Super Bowl or just perform in these later playoff rounds, right? That's what I want to see because the narrative
that's where it matters, though.
Yeah, the narrative is going to change about Aaron Glenn if we turn the TV on and the Lions defense is hooping. It's like, oh snap, we need you. Oh, dude, we need him. Kirby Joseph. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a whole pivot, but I'm ready to see it. Brian Flores, he's gonna be interviewed on Friday. He's already kicked out of the playoffs, and people are, still wanting him. And
you can technically hire him today.
Yeah, technically.
Not today, but Friday if they wanted to.
And look, and that will be if we don't hire him in the next week. That's going to be a telling sign of where our head is at. Because then,
I will say that's the hard part. Like,
that's how we're going to really know how much we want Aaron Glenn, right?
Well, and you also I would assume they would at that point really know that Aaron Glenn's all in on them because it would be so embarrassing. We sit there and wait for Aaron Glenn, and he goes to the Saints or something, and then we're like, "Oh shit!"
There's no way. There's
I don't
no way.
know what we would do.
I feel like
I don't know what we would
feel
do.
like I feel like we need to just be as transparent as possible. Be like, hey, we like you as a candidate, but we're
We
waiting
can't
for
even
the
talk to him
Lions.
again.
Yeah, like we have to be like, hey, look, we're waiting to see what the Lions do. All right, because we're not gonna drop any names, but one of our candidates is on that team. That's it. That's it. And
Yeah,
and if a coach decides to go elsewhere because he doesn't like the fact that we're waiting for Aaron Glenn, go ahead. We
that's true
hired
too.
or we interviewed 25 other people. Like it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
totally
They can just go down the list. Somebody got
totally
to come here. I know
totally
Rex
fine.
will still come.
You know,
Rex will still come.
rest can keep that seat warm on get up. That's cool. That's cool, man. I'm
Would you
cool.
take Rex as a DC though?
Sure, but he don't want to. He don't want to do that.
Nah, I don't want to do that. But I would have been curious to see him as a DC with Flores though. They have like the same-ish scheme, and just like I think that's
They're
the
both
only way
ass.
because
They're both assholes.
Rex's personality kind of is like the opposite in a way, like the opposite of what a Flores personality is. Like Flores is more quiet to himself, like
Yeah.
more like Bill. Like it's like how Bill and Rex were like complete opposites.
Right.
Be interesting to just see them together and see how that dynamic works. But
Yeah. It's I
yeah,
mean, it's gonna be interesting. I want to see um again. The head coach. I know people might be annoyed with the head coaching process that's going on, but like you said, I feel like we're waiting it out because we have a guy in mind and we can't technically hire him until he's out of the playoffs, right? So
yeah, it's the GM one. That's the one that's weird though, because technically
yeah,
there's nothing stopping us from hiring a GM today if we wanted to,
yeah,
or let alone
yep,
coming up with a short list for what our
uh-huh,
second round of interviews are. So
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I heard a report that they finally finished their first round of GMs though.
That would be amazing because
That would be amazing.
yeah, that's and I hope. And I mean, this might be the case. It might be that okay, the second round of GMs, we know um, that they want Glenn as a head coaching option. So we're gonna bring these guys back in to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be the case for that. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, I mean, it was a week of nothing and just more interviews. So hopefully we don't have too many more interviews, too many more requests. And next week when we get back here, it'll be more. It'll be like a clearer picture of who the Jets want in that front office. But I guess shifting over to the divisional round, and for anybody that's in here right now, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all the likes, appreciate all the subscribes. But yeah, no, shifting over to this exciting weekend of playoff football, right? It was cool watching some underdogs this past week, go out there and kill it. Our predictions were a little off
Mine were
last
terrible.
week. Our predictions were a little off. The Commanders came through. The Texans came through. The Rams came through. So, you know,
Not for me though.
teams, yeah. Teams are teams are showing out in the playoffs. They're like,
Yeah.
and we're kind of seeing, who's what in these games. But moving into the divisional round, we have in the AFC, Chiefs versus Texans, and Ravens versus the Bills. Right.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with you. Who do you think is winning each game and why?
The Chiefs, just because the refs.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the only word I need.
Oh yeah.
And
For
I'm an automatic Bills hater, so I'm gonna go with it. Also, I love Lamar Jackson. Like, if I genuinely would have thought that he was available that year, I would have said throw all the money at him. But I knew he was never available.
It's funny looking back at that draft too.
Yeah, right. We had the choice, and a lot of people were fighting for Josh Rosen that year too. So I'm like, it's funny. It could have been
It was
worse.
us.
It definitely could
It
have been
was
worse.
us. We were the
I
ones
know.
fighting
I
for
know.
Josh Rosen. We weren't even
Yeah, I
considering
know.
Lamar Jackson, who is a multi MVP, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't make it. It
There were
just
some fans though that they were saying
it
like,
baffles me.
yeah, it
It
was
baffles
Lamar
me.
all along. Yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie though, like it was one of those things like because it's like there's some players that can just completely change the game. Like Lamar's just one of those guys. Like you gotta
yeah.
think at that point, there was no real mobile QB that was successful.
To like
Like
compare
most of the
to,
mobile
right?
QBs, yeah, like you had like Vic, but like even Vic, like he towards the end of his career, it was like all right, like the mobile stuff that shit got to him. So
Yeah,
everyone was just scared to get a mobile QB, and
yeah.
then I think guys like Lamar and even Josh in a way, like just completely changed the entire game.
They did. They did. So it's like now going forward, it's like, okay, you're a mobile quarterback in college. You know, you look like a running back, but I've seen this before. I want you,
Yeah,
right? That's going
yeah,
to be
because
like the thing going forward.
your offense is just so dynamic. Like you look at Jaden Daniels, like yo, that
Yeah,
shit is like it's so hard to guard because you don't know what to do.
yeah.
You always have to just kind of be prepared for everything.
That is literally the new era of
Yeah,
quarterbacks. My picks
yeah,
are going to be. I'm gonna ride with you on the Chiefs because it's like it's the Chiefs. Come on,
yeah,
they're gonna be in the AFC Championship. It's
yeah,
Patrick Mahomes. They're gonna go crazy.
yeah.
But I picked against the Bills last week and they won. So I'm picking the Bills this week. You know, even though I want Lamar to win, I want to see Lamar in the Super Bowl, but I'm picking the Bills just because it's going to be in Buffalo. You never know what can happen. You
It's gonna
know,
be cold as shit.
it's going to be cold. I think the Ravens beat the Bills in the regular season this year, I believe. So you know, it's going to be a great game. I feel like first of all, but
Yeah, it's
uh,
gonna be a great game.
I picked against
It's
the
gonna be a
Bills
great
last
weekend
week.
of football.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I picked against the Bills last week, but I'm gonna pick him again, hoping that Lamar proves me wrong. But yeah, no NFC. We have the Lions versus the Commanders,
Yep,
that should be a great game, and then the Eagles versus the Rams,
Rams.
which I feel like could be an interesting game, right?
Yeah,
But yeah. What do you feel about those games?
I gotta go first. All right.
I mean, no,
So
I'll go first if you want me to.
yeah, yeah, you go first. You go
Yeah,
first.
all right, yeah, I'll go first this time. Eagles and Rams. So okay,
That's the
I'm
hard one.
it is a hard one. It is a hard one. I'm gonna say because the last time Saquon went against the Rams, he went crazy. He had like 200 something yards altogether. And AJ Brown had one 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 catch last week. I think that changes. And I think that the Eagles offense is I think like I think it's a problem it's going to be a problem for the Rams, right? Uh so especially since they have film on what they did last week to the Vikings, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go Eagles that game. I'm gonna go Eagles. Second game, uh Commanders had a great season. I actually picked against them last week as well. But uh Detroit is just a powerhouse right now, you know. And as much as I want Aaron Glenn to like become the Jets head coach, I'm not in a rush. Not in a rush. You go as far as you can, buddy, in these playoffs. Build up your resume. Yeah, I got Lions in that win. So Lions and Eagles.
All right. I'll start off with Lions Commanders. So I'm actually going to be in Detroit. Ironic.
Oh,
I wasn't even. I'm not going to the game. I'm just
oh
going to
yeah.
be in the city of Detroit. I wasn't even planning on that.
Oh man.
So I'm be in the bars with all the Detroit fans.
Oh man, that's gonna
Um,
be
So I
crazy.
kind of have to go Detroit just because I don't want to get my ass kicked.
That's gonna be
like,
crazy
like,
though. That's
yeah,
gonna be a
I know.
crazy
I was like,
atmosphere.
I kind of have to just be a Detroit fan for the weekend.
Yeah,
But also I'm just a Glenn fan, so I'm a root for him. But also I it'd be very, very different for a rookie QB to go and knock out a team like the Lions.
yeah,
I think that's too hard of a feat for
yeah.
a guy like Jaden. He could do a lot, but the
He's tough.
Lions, like their defense, is definitely still injured, but that's a hard team to beat. Their offense is just too good.
Yeah,
And I think I'm gonna do a Woody here. I think I'm gonna say Rams, just
yeah,
because of I think Saquon, again, great player. I do think he can go crazy, but I think it's very hard to compete with a high functioning passing offense. And that's kind of what the Rams did to the Vikings.
yeah.
And the Rams defense is out of control right now. And the Rams
Going
defense
crazy,
is just going crazy. So
insane.
I'm curious just how that looks. I know the Eagles have a good old line, but how good is it? We're about to go see a solid test here because that Rams defense they're on a run right now.
Yeah, big run, and it's a defense that's been drafted. You know,
Yeah,
it's like an unconventionally put together defense, right?
yeah,
So that's gonna be it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a good weekend of football. You know,
yeah,
um,
yeah. It's a
yeah.
lot of good games, man. And then you
It's
got
gonna,
the college football championship.
oh yeah, we
It's
got
gonna
we
be a
get
great
yeah
weekend.
we got that too. Who do you have for that? Notre Dame or Ohio State?
Um, Feeling what? Like vibes, straight vibes. Notre Dame.
Mm,
Talent, OSU. So I like I'm not really one way. I'm just in for a good game because
yeah,
I don't support either one of those teams. But
yeah.
I think that's where I don't know who do I actually think will win. I think who I don't know. I honestly I
Mm.
don't know. I think OSU still wins though.
OSU. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nah. I got.
I do.
Yeah. Nah. I'm with you. I'm with your first take. I think Notre Dame is going to. I think Notre Dame's going to take it, man. I don't know what it is. That quarterback. He's got some swag, bro. Like he can run and
Season
he's
two.
yeah, he's seasoned. And Notre Dame's defense has been cool. I have a buddy of mine who's in Indiana. He's a big Notre Dame fan, and
Mm-hmm.
he put me on the Jeremiah Love. I was like, bro, who's this running back? And then I looked at his highlights. I was like, oh my god, bro, he is crazy. So,
Yeah, Notre Dame has
um,
a very sound team.
very sound team, and I love Marcus Freeman. You know,
Yeah,
I want
great
Marcus
player.
Freeman to win. I think that's why
I do
I
too.
want.
That's the hard
Yeah,
part. But I
yeah,
do just look at LSU's like just the talent they have, and I say that's a hard thing to overcome.
yeah.
Like they got through Penn State. They got through just by the lick of they got through. But
Drew
uh
Aller's fool's gold, buddy. I don't. I'm glad he's not. Hopefully, he doesn't enter this draft, but he's
nah,
fool's
he said he's
gold.
not.
He's not good.
Yeah,
That
he's
was
not. He's not.
a great
And
decision,
honestly, if
buddy.
he was, I would just as long as he wasn't coming here. As long as I was against him. Like again, like there's certain quarterbacks I'm a huge hater of. He's one of those
Yeah,
guys.
he looks like
I know
Christian
a lot of guys
Hackenberg
like him though.
too. He looks like Hackenberg in the face.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
gives me
All
Hackenberg
all
vibes.
Penn State quarterbacks just play the same.
I'm good. I'm good on that.
Yeah.
Give me a quarterback who I'd rather take Notre Dame's quarterback right now as like a late
Oof.
round draft pick.
Sheesh.
I want a quarterback who performs well on like under big lights. If we were to draft somebody. So
Well,
that's
honestly, my floor for him was just very low. Like I would have taken Jalen Milroe over him, and I'm
yeah,
I'm not even really big on Jalen Milroe anymore.
yeah. Like that's I don't know.
I just liked him as a runner.
Yeah, Milrow.
Now it's like I'm so obsessed with like running quarterbacks now. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
And I
just keep
mean,
getting.
look, he might be one of those guys. He might be
He
one of those
could
guys
be.
like
He could be.
he
I
might
think
be one
his
of those guys.
ceiling's very low though. but like
Yeah.
he does potentially have a solid floor
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely
just
agree.
because he played at Bama. I think
Yeah.
SEC is probably the hardest. I still think it's the hardest to play in.
Yeah.
Um,
And Bama quarterbacks, it's like you know, like you got Hurts, you got Tua. It's like all right,
he
y'all,
reminds me a lot of
y'all ain't,
Hurts, to be honest.
yeah,
Probably not as
y'all ain't
high
been that
IQ, but
bad. Y'all ain't been that bad as far as producing quarterbacks. So you know,
yeah, like high floor,
yeah, high
low
floor.
ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
You know.
you don't expect that guy to go take you to the championship by themselves,
Yeah.
but like if you put them in like a very elite team in a very elite system,
Yeah.
you could get by. You can get
Right.
by.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No. No. I agree. I agree with that. But yeah,
Yeah, that's always how I
just
felt about Miro though.
yeah. Well, yeah. Milroy, he's tricky. He's tricky. It's like
Yeah,
I watch him. I'm like, but then I watch him another game. I'm like, oh, all right.
yeah,
But so he's tricky. He's tricky. But
yeah,
to recap the picks that we have, Allen for the AFC has the Chiefs and the Ravens. I have the Chiefs and the Bills.
yep,
Uh, NFC, I have the Lions and the Eagles. Allen has the Lions and the Rams. Right.
yep.
So, you know, uh, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I think it's gonna be a great
Yeah.
weekend of football, a great weekend of just sports in general. So um I'm looking forward to it. Uh I'm also looking forward to see who our next head coach and GM is going to be. Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one.
And one more time for the people. One more time. Look at that. Yeah. That's a Jets DB. Hold on. Let me flip it over. Let me flip it over. That's a Jets DB for you. And this man wants to be the next Jets head coach. All right. Look at that. Catching the pick in the picture. Come on. Hire that man. Hire that man. Oh, Woody, we're not out on Flores.
We're not
All
out
right.
on him. We're not
Yeah,
out on him.
yeah. We're not out on Flores just yet. All right.
I like and me and Woody were talking about it. I still
Yeah.
think Flores provides a high, like it's almost like a Jalen Milroe. Like he provides a higher floor than probably most of the candidates out there. Like I'm
Yeah.
almost sure that like you put Flores out there, we can go like 7-8 wins next year. Even it doesn't matter who the quarterback is at that point.
Right.
But and especially seeing Flores, it's like you worry about like even when you do give him an elite team, like how is he going to like not only get to like once you get to the playoffs, like are you going to win the games there, or is it just going to be
Yeah.
like
Right. All right. And that was so Woody, we were talking about this earlier. Flores hasn't won a playoff game, right? So not saying that that's a huge X in the checkoff square, but uh, you know, how he performed, how given the circumstances here, and how is he going to handle that locker room pressure, of just being, the Jets head coach because
New York?
it's gonna be a lot of pressure. And I don't think that he can or I don't think that he can't handle it, but will he handle it well? Because we have guys that are on the cusp, right? And it's like, is Flores going to be that last push for them out the door by saying the wrong thing or not? Again, it's like I don't mind having an asshole as a coach, as a head coach, but you know, we're in a transition where I feel like we need to bring somebody in that players want to play for, right?
Yeah,
And that's why Glenn is like kind of leaning is getting the more of the nod from me, personally. And I think from other Jet fans as well, Glenn is getting that lean because you can tell that players want to play for him, right? And I mean, DJ Reed's about to be gone. So, I would love for a sound corner to, walk into the Jets office, see another former cornerback and say, I want to play for this guy. along with Sauce Gardner too. So I don't know. I just feel like,
We also have Crow in the coaching staff currently.
oh yeah. So it's like, yeah, I want to see that. You know, I want to see that camaraderie be built. Camaraderie, you know, be built with one of our own. That'd be pretty cool. You know, he's gotten the bump, you know, over Flores for me in the last like few days. So that's where I'm at with it. You know, that's where I'm at with that. You know, we can take our time, and if we don't hire a head coach, I feel like, again, like Alan was saying earlier, we're doing our due diligence because we kind of know the guy we want. We're just waiting for a season to be over. Yeah. But yeah. Anything else you want to say, Alan? We're coming up on an hour here. Any closing remarks? Anything you want to see in the next coming week? Yeah.
I think the last thing I'll say is, I know because I was a little hard on Flores. I feel like I wasn't hard on Glenn. I do want to see Glenn win this football game, not on the back of the offense, but on the back of the defense. Like, It doesn't have to be like a dominant performance. Jaden Daniels is a great quarterback, but like I don't want it to be like a 40 to 40 point game.
Yeah.
Even if the Lions win. So I would like to see the defense kind of show. He passed the first test with the Vikings, but Sam overall seems like he was the problem. I want to see how he does with like a quarterback that has been living up to the moment. Let me say.
Right. I agree. This is, you know, we're watching. We were watching the college playoffs, scouting for players, but it's like we're watching these NFL playoffs, scouting for coaches. You know, which is a little crazy. So yeah, you know, hopefully again in the next week, you know, we will not have our head coach signed. But we're moving towards those steps. You know, hopefully we can come back next week with a second round of GM interviews, or, you know, some more insight on the head coaching hunt that we're on right now. But, you know, for the meantime, again, subscribe in the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. You know, we will be back next week. Appreciate y'all.
Into the air, into the end zone. Oh, man. Wow.